Do you remember this?
We're all going on a summer holiday.
So we're entering summer, the weather's nice, the sun is out, and we're thinking about where we can go for our summer holidays. It's a really enjoyable time, and a time to spend with the family, a time to relax, a time to let go of the stress. But I've had patients come to me and say, "Doctor, I'm going away, is there anything I need to be aware of?" So I thought, well, let's make this video to give people some tips and advice about the best way to make sure you stay healthy and well during your summer holiday. The first thing to look at is, where are you going and what do you need to be aware of? If you're going skiing, you wouldn't pack flip-flops. And if you're going on a beach holiday, you're not going to pack a big overcoat with a furry hat. Equally, depending on where you're going on a holiday, there are different things you need to think about. So imagine you've booked that long-awaited safari holiday, spent thousands of pounds, arrived there, the plane's landed and they said, "Sorry, you can't come in. You don't have the correct vaccinations." Just think of that disappointment and the look on your kids' faces when they look up at you and say, "Why can't we go, Daddy?" We're going to talk about vaccines, but other things to be aware of. In a hot climate, you need to think about malaria prophylaxis. So you'll have to think about taking sprays and special creams to protect you from the mosquitoes. What about nets? There are a certain number of vaccinations that are generally recommended for hotter climates. For example, hepatitis A. This is given where there may be poor sanitation and poor water supply, because hepatitis A can be transmitted through contaminated water. This is more the case where you may have bloodborne infections. Another thing to think about where there may be poor water sanitation is typhoid. Again, this is spread through contaminated water supplies. So hepatitis A and typhoid. Probably two of the vaccinations that would definitely be recommended for a hotter climate. Other vaccinations for other destinations may include hepatitis B and C. These are where there's risk of bloodborne infections or you're engaging in some contact sports. Another thing that potentially may be necessary is the tetanus jab. Normally you'll have had your tetanus as a child and be up to date, but getting a booster is always a good idea. Some rarer vaccinations that you may need could be yellow fever and Japanese encephalitis. These are not commonly required. Your travel agent will advise you if the country you're traveling to needs you to have these, but do make sure you check before you go. Other things to think about in a hot climate is malaria. Malaria is a disease spread by mosquitoes, so there are some simple things that you can do. Use sprays and creams to protect your skin. Don't go out at times when mosquitoes are more prevalent. In the early hours of dawn or the late hours of dusk, there are more mosquitoes around. Check the resort you're going to has mosquito nets and protection for you at night time. But the most important of all is getting the malaria prophylaxis. These are tablets given sometimes up to 6 weeks before you travel, so you have to really be prepared. Go and visit your doctor and get the appropriate prescription. Take the course whilst you're there and for some period of time after you return. The last thing you want is to catch malaria while you're abroad. Another thing is barley belly. Yes, you heard that right. Barley belly, not Delhi belly. The name's changed now. But basically, the condition is the same. A really bad form of traveler's diarrhea. This is primarily due to contaminated water or food or poor sanitation. The symptoms comprise diarrhea and vomiting, and if it continues, severe dehydration. So it's not a pleasant thing to have at all. So how can you try and minimize the chances of this? Don't drink tap water or have ice in drinks or have drinks that are mixed with water. Always use bottled water. It's the safest thing for you. If you're going to have food, avoid street food. It may be nice, it may be tasty, but the last thing you want is a dodgy tummy from having taken a risk with some street food. Eat food from restaurants that is cooked and well prepared. Make sure you wash your hands well before and after eating, because if it's down to you, then you have no one else to blame for poor hygiene and poor sanitation. If you can't get hold of soap and water, carry hand sanitizer or antibacterial wipes so you can try and minimize the risk of bacteria contaminating your food. Try and keep as hydrated as possible and get those little sachets or tablets of rehydration salts. These will help replenish the salts that are lost through diarrhea and vomiting. And finally, if the worst comes to the worst and it's really not under control, you may need to seek medical advice. Go and see a doctor there. And if you're very dehydrated, you may need to be admitted to hospital for a drip. But that's the last thing you want on your well-deserved holiday. So please take these precautions to prevent your holiday becoming ruined. If you're thinking of going on holiday, let me know. I'll be happy to help arrange any travel vaccinations that you need. Subscribe to the channel and remember, real wealth is health.